Question of the day. Should fathers be risk takers? Now, that's a fire question. That's a loaded question right there. That's an open-ended question right there. If you're asking me, yeah, men should be risk takers because I make the money. I make the decisions. I make all the rules. That's what I would say if I didn't have a wife, but I do, and she's watching this. So I was just kidding. But it's an open-ended question. This can go a lot of ways, right? This can go like if you're a single father, you have kids, you have kids depending on you. You're like me, you're married, you have kids, multiple kids at that, and should you be taking risks to basically want more for your kids, want more for your family, want more for yourself, right? Should you be taking that risk? And I'm relating this to the topic of entrepreneurship, starting a business, starting a YouTube channel, wanting more, right? Should you be taking that risk? So to get into the topics, I have a couple things about this, because I've started a lot of businesses, failed in a lot of businesses, but I haven't put myself over, and like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. I've lost a lot of, money, but not necessarily thousands of dollars in debt, But one thing I do have to say to this is if you're a father, if you're somebody, an entrepreneur at heart, you've been working that job for X amount of time and you have a burning desire to like try something, right? That feeling, I don't think ever goes away. I think it's going to follow you all the way to your deathbed. I think the regret of not starting something, not trying, and failing is going to hurt a lot more than starting something, failing, and then, that's that. That's what I do have to say about that. But to relay it to, because I have basically two answers for this. I have a yes and a no answer. My yes answer, because I'm basically doing that right now, right? I'm basically taking a risk on this channel, basically taking a risk out of filming this portion, this filming to take time out of my day, right? To take a portion of my day out that I'm never going to get back and that I'm never going to get back to either spend with my wife, my children. I'm taking that risk, financially, buying this microphone, buying a camera, lights, whatever, whatever it is, right? And not just that, but like my reputation, like how people perceive me, that's another thing we kind of put out there, not to scare anybody, but those are things that I'm risking right now, right? So I would be a hypocrite if I said if I say fathers shouldn't be out here risking anything, right? You know what I mean? Because everything's a risk. Everything really is a risk, But the answer I'm going to give, if your risk is calculated, if you're with your significant other and your guys are both on the same page, like that's like the most important thing I think in all of this is if you guys are on the same exact page, right? Because it's not going to work if you guys don't work it out, And that's what I'm very thankful for at this time of this recording is that me and my wife, since we've been together, like anytime that I've had an urge to do something, to try a business, to go for it, she's always been supportive, And it sucks, because when you fail, you fall, you have your what do they say, that your tail tucked between your legs, you come back and you're like kind of just like that, but you're vulnerable is what I'm trying to say. You're very vulnerable. If you're prepared for all that, then you should take that risk. If you're prepared for the worst case scenario, you have talked it over with your significant other, do it, because honestly, like I think that pain that you would experience if you don't try something is going to follow you. And I don't know about you, but I think my wife cares enough about me to not want me to have that in the future. And same goes for her. Like if she ever wanted to do anything or try something or try a business, I would do everything in my power to make that happen for her. She doesn't have those dreams right now because that's not the season that she's in right now. Right now she's, she wants to be a full-time mother. She loves it. She loves being with her kids. She loves being present in their life, and thankfully, I've been able to, give that to her as of right now, and I still want more for them. I want more for myself. I want myself to be happy, to be able to be, to give more, right, is what I'm trying to say, in this loaded question where, should fathers be risk takers, on the other side of it, right? The side of me that wants to say no is the side of me who is, if you're not planning on sticking to that one thing, and making it work and doing everything you can to make it work, and you're not willing to adjust, you're not willing to pivot, you're not willing to reassess what's working, what's not working, then I'm going to say no. I'm going to say don't take that risk, because you have enough want to want the, how do you say, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but you don't want it to rain. You're not willing to go through the rainy days to see that. You're motivated just by the pot of gold, but not what it takes to get there, basically. There's two types of people, and this is a cool little saying. I don't remember who told it to me, but you're either a stick person or a carrot person, right? And that's basically kind of just referring to, obviously, like a horse-drawn carriage or something like that, like horses, right? To move forward, they either obviously get hit with the stick, which is pain, or they're, you see on cartoons where they put a carrot in front of the the horse and they start following it, right? Because they're motivated by their desire, right? If you're solely motivated by desire and you think that's the only outcome that's going to happen, I'm going to say don't take that risk, because when the hard times come and you're not prepared for it, right? You weren't prepared for it. You didn't prepare your wife for it. You weren't set up financially to where, like, you took a big risk and you weren't ready for sales to be slow. You weren't ready for sales to not even happen, to get no views, to, for whatever. I don't want to put that bad juju out on anyone, but you went in there kind of blind, not knowing, super rash decision. Because I've been there, done that. I'm going to say no, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Croods, but it's basically about like a caveman family where they're like, the dad wants to always keep, the kids in the cave to keep them safe and keep them alive, basically, and then on the opposite side, like, I think it's the daughter, she's like really like, I want to be out there and I want to explore, and there's more out there, right? Cute movie. I got kids. Don't blame me. But there's a message in that, right? Because it is true. If we're not risk takers as men, we get so far to where we're just like, okay, I'm comfortable here. It's the job that I have right now is paying my bills. The job that I have is consistent, right? I'm not worrying about hours. I'm not worrying about anything like that. It takes care of me. It takes care of my family, right? But then you think to yourself, like, in and of itself is kind of a risk, right? If that job were to go under, like, what do you have? Do you have a savings? Do you have something else lined up right away? You kind of don't, not just that, but it's like, you can't give your kids a job, right? You can work so hard, go to college, get a degree or whatever, start entry level, climb the corporate ladder. If you were to leave that job, you can't tell your son, here you go, son, I'm done with this job. It's your turn. You can't do that, right? You can do that with the business. You can't do that with the job. For me, that's kind of a big reason why I want to do what I do, is because I can teach these skills to my kids. Make them more confident, or if they want to go the other route and just go to school and figure things out like that, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. But back to the topic. Sorry, going on a tangent a little bit. For me, yes, I want to take. I am a risk taker. I am a risk taker. But I am calculated, right? And not just that, but the thing that's most important to me is that I have a passion for whatever I'm chasing. I have a desire for whatever I'm chasing. The outcome that I want is more important than just, having more money, having more, material things, I guess, if you want to call it. The outcome is more freedom, more opportunities, more money, obviously, more savings, anything like that. And just be calculated, as a father, you should be willing to go through these things. If things go south, it's up to you to be able to adjust, pivot, or pull out, whatever you want to do. Pull out's probably the wrong word because I got kids, but just basically be ready for what's to come, right? And and adjust accordingly. Don't get sidetracked by this or that, because that's a mistake that I made. I got sidetracked from my journey with shiny object syndrome. Oh, it looks like the grass is greener over there, let me go touch it. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Don't get sidetracked. But I don't know what you guys think. Like, should fathers be risk takers? Is it worth is it worth the benefit? Is it worth the challenges that it brings? Like, you guys let me know in the comments. I don't know. Should fathers be risk takers? Got people that depend on you, especially if you're like a sole breadwinner. Should you be taking risks? Should you be playing it safe? Whatever it is, how do you guys feel? Is a job risky? Is having your primary source of income relying on one job, is that risky? Or should fathers feel guilty about, wanting more and then ending up burnt, risking that, right? That's a good one. I don't know. I'm gonna talk to my boys about that one too. I might be like, what do you think? Should fathers be risk takers? Is that something that we should do? Are you naturally a risk taker? Are you naturally not a risk taker? Like, what's your tolerance like? And then this is crazy, because we get into like gambling territories. And I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about just like, you have time, that the time that you have left after your job, after being with your kids, that the money that you have left over after paying your bills, after taking care of your family, that small amount of money and time that you have left over, like, what are you going to do with it? I could think that's where the risk is. Should you take that risk and start that thing, or should you just be modest, be careful, and just save and then not take a risk ever? That's a loaded question, but I'll leave you guys with that one. You guys can discuss it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.